Tippy Timer Damies, Top Cat here and welcome back to the channel. With the Act 3 Heresy artifact unlocks, our Strand Warlock has been thrust back into the meta, with tons of damage resist and enough bugs to make you want to shampoo your pubes. It all begins with the Vile Weave artifact perk, as targets we hit with our tangles become severed, knocking down their damage output by 40%, and it's going to reduce our tangle cooldown by simply picking up a tangle. The standard tangle cooldown is 12 seconds, and these can stay on the battlefield for 20 seconds, and upon picking one up, we have these available to us for 20 seconds. Thanks to Vile Weave, whenever we pick one of these up, it's going to knock 1 second off that cooldown, so it's completely common to see 3 or 4 of these tangles on the battlefield at any given moment. So with this kit, we want to maximize our output with those tangles, and with the Broodweaver, this means using the Wanderer aspect. The tangles that we throw attach to targets and detonate with a suspending burst. Now we can also shoot these tangles down range to detonate them, though the suspending burst is on a short delay, and ideally you want to be picking these up and yeeting them at those bad dudes' faces, as this gives us that vile cooldown. And with Unraveling Orbs, when we pick up an Orb of Power or a tangle, it's going to grant our Strand weapons Unraveling rounds, and when boosted, any Strand weapon damage to Strand debuff targets. And trust that this Warlock has a crazy amount of uptime with all 3 of our debuffs. Also, thanks to that Wanderer aspect, any Threadling Final Blow is going to create us a tangle. We've got Thread of Mind, so when we defeat suspended targets, strung up in those green Gimp ropes, it's going to grant us class ability energy. Our lowest tier enemies like Thralls give us 10%, and we can get up to 30% with anything like a yellow bar. Whilst this might not sound like a lot, it adds up pretty quick, and not once during all my GM runs did I ever feel like I didn't have a Rift ready to use. I've got one Reaper mod to give us an Orb of Power from a weapon kill after we've used our Rift, and Thread of Warding, so whenever we pick up an Orb of Power, it's going to grant us Woven Mail with a 45% damage resist. We've got one recuperation mod giving us a bump in health when we pick up an Orb of Power, and I'm using an innovation to get 10% more melee energy, and Orbs of Restoration to give us another 10% to our lowest charged ability. We want a lot of class energy as we're rocking Weaver's Call, so when we plant down that rift, it's going to deploy 3 Threadlings, and this allows us to also deploy any perched Threadlings that orbit our noggins, Tweety Bird style, after being bonked on the head. Additionally, any target defeated by Strand damage has a chance to generate one of these little Tweety Birds. We're utilizing Thread of Fury, so when we damage any target with a tangle, it's going to grant us melee energy. This could be as little as 10% going up to 30% based on the level of enemy you've hit. But it does count for every instance, so if you manage to hit 10 red bars with it, that would be a full melee charge. Now obviously we've got that Arcane Needle that will unravel any target it hits, and any unraveled target will unwind into a tangle once defeated. So our goal is debuff everything, so we can spend everything in our own little personal marionette show, damaging them with our weapons to repeat this cycle. We've chosen that Mataiodoxia exotic chest piece, where targets damaged by an Arcane Needle will emit a suspending detonation when defeated. You'll note that little mark on them, turning them into a ticking time bomb in our own little puppet show. And if we land multiple Arcane Needles on the same target, it'll trigger that suspension immediately with a larger and more powerful detonation. Now don't be afraid to finger pump generously, as when we defeat these suspended targets, we are granted melee energy back. This gives us 15% for little tier 1 enemies like our Thralls, and things like our Champs is give us 100% back. So between that Mataiodoxia, the Thread of Fury, we'll have more than enough melees to finger bang the entire army that lies before us. Now feel free to use whatever grenade you'd like. I would suggest using the grapple though, as 1, we can unravel targets that we hit, and 2, this kit plays best at midguard, but sometimes you'll need to close that gap if something like a finisher is required. We've got ourselves that little Warlock mod Circle Jerk, which has momentum transfer, so we damage with our grenades to boost our melee cooldown. Then with Impact Induction, it's going to reduce our grenade cooldown when we damage with our melees, and Focusing Strike, class energy is boosted when we do our melee damage. So with each of these instances, we get a 12% boost to the ability's recharge rate for 7 seconds. Now I found this kit works best if you're running both a Strand in that kinetic slot and your heavy slot. I've chosen to use the Strand Refusal of Call and the Pro Memoria in the heavy slot. This way I can rock heavy ordnance regeneration, so when doing sustained damage with my Pro Memoria, it's going to give me a ×2 damage resist, and it's going to help boost our grenade and melee regeneration for a short time to aid in our finger bang uptime. And then hold the line as it works best with my glaive and my LMG to give me better reload speed, and final blows are going to heal us. No doubt we got no bow to give us more glaive ammo and give us that 55% damage increase to our glaive's melee hits. I've got the elemental siphon boosted, so our rapid final blows with either a kinetic, aka my glaive melee final blows, or a weapon matching my super, which again is my glaive and my LMG, is going to create elemental pickups matching our super, Deuce KA, our tangles. And because it's boosted, when we pick these up, it's also going to give us increased super energy. Now, no doi, we've got Horde Shuttle, so as we damage those unraveled targets with a weapon, it'll occasionally spew out those threadlings. And we've got this boosted, so anything our threadling touches, if it doesn't kill it, it's going to sever it, so it does 40% less damage to us. Then with 2 shreds, we deal sustained damage to any severed target, and it's going to unravel them. And then defeating targets, it's going to create one of those little Strand hotspots, granting us woven mail to us and our allies for 10 seconds. It's extremely lucrative. You'll honestly just see these littered throughout the battlefield. And when you got this perk boosted, unraveling projectiles do increased damage and deal even further damage to severed targets. And we've got that thread of evolution, so our threadlings travel 30% further and faster and deal 33% more damage. In your energy slot, feel free to use whatever you want, but as I was running this through multiple GMs, I ran a special sidearm to deal with anti-barrier champions, and that berry bloodline worked particularly well, both weakening and giving us access to Devour. So now not only can we eat that damage, but as those hordes of minions go and chomp at our enemies, we're often healed at random locations and times. Now feel free to pause here for all my mods, fragments and artifacts, but there will be a dim link in the description down below. Much like my Syntho Titan, this kit makes killing easy, and it's very rare that you ever feel in danger. If anything, it makes me feel like playing some basketball. As those tangles, thanks to their Wanderer aspect, I want to be like Mike. Holler at me in the comments down below. What do you guys think is stronger, that bolt charge with its single target damage, or Strand going to war on the world? Make sure to thumb it if you dug it, sub if you're new, and as always, tippy tie my damies, what a tie. Bottom of everything, he's the most tip top.